One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
You live here?
Yes.
Well, maybe you know what a zombie is.
When a person dies and is buried, it seems there's certain voodoo priests who have the power to bring him back to life.
Oh, horrible.
It's worse than horrible because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring.
You mean like Democrats?
Are you or your loved ones suffering from illnesses such as TDS, also known as Trump derangement syndrome? Do you dismiss or deny the current issues facing our country, such as historic inflation, illegal immigration, corporate corruption, World War III escalations, and the chronic disease epidemic? Are you willing to elect someone who was the least popular vice president in modern history, and who offers no policy or vision for America simply because your brain keeps telling you anyone but Trump? If so, you might be struggling from TDS. Introducing Independence. Independence allows you the freedom to finally think independently once again. Instead of believing everything you hear from the mainstream media, independence allows for constructive critical thinking.
I used to hear people on the news say things like,
Donald Trump and the movement he has encouraged are a threat to democracy.
and I instantly believed it. With independence, I now realize the media is run by the Democrat elite, who are a corrupt oligarchy that censors free speech, silences political opponents, supports forever wars, and abandons democracy by anointing its candidates.
Independence may not be for everyone. If you enjoy being lied to about your president's cognitive abilities, support Orwellian totalitarianism, or are excited about communist fiscal policy, independence may not be right for you. Common side effects of independence may include an awakening of rational thought, successfully identifying propaganda, freedom of choice, loss of hatred, anti-narcissistic behavior, and love of democracy.
I used to blindly hate whoever my party was running against. I didn't care about facts or policy because I was hopelessly indoctrinated. With independence, I'm much more interested in policies that uphold democracy, and I truly care about the health of our country and its citizens.
Ask your doctor if independence is right for you, and enjoy your freedoms once again.
Enjoy your freedoms once again. That video
was put out by Nicole Shanahan and her team. Nicole Shanahan was the running mate of RFK Jr. And it's perfect. It's a perfect video. It talks about these people who are completely nuts upstairs and will do anything, including embracing communism if it means defeating Trump and not even understanding what that even means. And the first clip that you saw was from an old movie with Bob Hope. And I just thought, just imagine this movie that you just saw, that clip was probably from 50 years ago. And 50 years ago, people knew back then that Democrats were walking dead, that they were zombies. They're absolutely nuts. And so, what we've seen happen over the last, I'd say, 24 hours is people actually embracing insanity. It's going even further. Earlier today, I watched some of the news shows just so you don't have to. And I just watched them just basically fall over themselves trying to make it look like Kamala Harris had done something well last night, when in reality, we all know that she didn't. These people are absurd, absolutely absurd. Now, my stream broke in my last show. I'm so sorry. I'm still here on vacation in a hotel, and the hotel doesn't have the strongest of internet. And I saw a storm coming in through the window, and I heard the thunder, and I'm like, I hope this thing holds up. And of course, it didn't. So I apologize. Just like Trump, I'm going to fight and fight and fight and fight through this stuff. Hopefully, we should be okay. The storm cleared. I've got good numbers here, but fingers crossed. It's the Lord's will at this point. But what was very interesting, and I wanted to mention this before we cut at the end of last stream, and it's very important to basically understand what has happened. I talked about what's going on in Aurora, Colorado, and how the Tres Bandidos, whatever they are, some gang from Venezuela, has taken over two apartment buildings where they've brought guns in to basically force the residents to pay them basically protection money as they've kicked out the management and have taken over these two apartment buildings. I talked about how a couple of other thugs tried to take out a school bus or two school buses full of kids. Who knows what they had planned for them? The interesting part about all of this is, as you heard, Trump mentioned it. Do you realize two apartment buildings in a blue state of Colorado, two of them, were taken over by gangs, and Kamala Harris has not even mentioned a word about it. Most of the news stations haven't mentioned a word about it. What does that tell you? The fact that she's not even acknowledging that it happens is that she is putting party way over country. She doesn't care what happens to people as long as she can potentially win an election. The Democrat Party doesn't care about people as long as they can win an election and stay in power. They truly have TDS. And in fact, you may want to say they have ADS, American syndrome as well. It is truly deranged what they're doing. They don't care about anything. We've got to win. They've got to stay in power. And if people get hurt or people end up getting kidnapped or what, doesn't matter. We need to get in office. I will say anything. I will do anything. Anything that it takes to get in office. That's what she's doing. She's flip-flopping on all these different policies. She doesn't care. And the worst part about it is a lot, if not most Democrats don't care either. They could care less. I saw somebody, and I mentioned it earlier, a tweet somebody put out, and the actual tweet said, I would rather put up with gangs taking control of apartment complexes than having Donald Trump as president. Those two clips I played to open this completely exemplify that kind of insanity. It's beyond derangement. It is full blown insanity. Somebody took the time to type on a keyboard or a phone that I'd rather be held captive by Venezuelan gangs than to see Donald Trump as president. I'd rather my family be held captive by armed Venezuelan gangs than see Trump as president. The gaslighting and everything that the media has done has completely worked. It has worked to their benefit. They're not going to stop. They are going to continue, and they don't care. If people are willing to, what was that? If people are willing to vote their best away from their best interest, if they are going to say, listen, I don't care what happens as long as Trump's not in the White House, we have no choice but as MAGA supporters to make sure these people are voted into oblivion. It's absolutely insane. I would never put anything above the safety and well-being of my family. Many of you guys have realized my daughter has now joined me. She won't be here tonight, I don't think. And my wife's in the other room. I, party doesn't matter. If my wife and my family's safety, that's above everything else. It's Lord, family, and then business. These people are willing to sacrifice people, literally sacrifice people in order to stay in power. That is derangement. That is insanity. In addition, Trump has mentioned it in a number of speeches. There are 300,000 plus kids missing that they brought across the border. They're missing. Nobody knows where they are. You don't hear that on the news whatsoever. You don't hear Kamala Harris address that whatsoever. We're not talking about a little number here. We are talking about 300,000 plus kids that are missing. Just those two things I've told you. The number of tweets that I saw that people said that, and they, because it got echoed, that they would rather have armed Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment complexes instead of seeing Trump get elected, and 300,000 plus kids that nobody can find. Nobody wants to talk about it. It makes your heart swell up when you realize these people, there's no other word for it other than evil. You have to realize at this point we are fighting good versus evil. They don't care. And that's why a number of times I referred to them as the orcs in Lord of the Rings, because they are zombies. They're soulless zombies. They don't care. Being able to go to a big blue RV and have a baby disposed of is probably the least of what they concerned about. They don't care about that either. Life means nothing. If it meant throwing all of us in some sort of re-education camp, they'd be fine with that. Hey, listen, you guys were Trump supporters. Now we've vanquished him, and he's not going to be president, and we've put him in jail, and he's in the pokey and basically being whipped 5 times a day. Now we got to come after you. He says it all the time in his speeches. He makes sure you understand that when he says they're not just coming for him, they're coming for us. He just happens to be in the way. And what I've seen over the last couple of days and weeks says that's absolutely true. If the National Guard has not as of yet been called out in Aurora, Colorado, if they have not gone in and said, listen, we can't take this, make sure this thing is quelled. We don't care. These people aren't citizens. They're newcomers, and they're getting comfortable enough to go ahead and take over apartment complexes, and they've lost 300,000 kids. If they don't care about that, we don't mean anything. I think some people have to swallow that and understand our well-being means absolutely nothing. And you can see the campaign that she's running. The campaign that she's running right now is I'll say anything, I'll do anything, nothing matters as long as I can somehow convince enough people or stretch enough votes or do enough things, because they'll do anything. In fact, July 13th, we got that confirmed. They will do anything. They will strip RFK Jr. his protection away from him the day he announced that he was supporting Trump. Let's go ahead and rip that away from him. They will do anything. I think more people who think like me and think like you have to really accept the fact that they would have no problem whatsoever if day one in office she says, round up everybody that's a Trump supporter. Go find these people on YouTube. Search their emails, find out from social media companies and whoever. Go ahead and find out anyone who has said this series of words. We want to know who they are. As I mentioned yesterday, the woman in England who was thinking a prayer, standing on a corner by herself, thinking a prayer, and got arrested. You can follow along what's happening to Elon Musk. Brazil and their insanity trying to shut him down in what they did to the guy at Telegram when he got off the plane in France. He's since been released, but they put him in jail. At some point, good Americans have to realize and accept the fact you're in a war. You may not realize at this point because after you get off watching this video or hearing Trump and go out to dinner with your family and take tomorrow, it's Saturday, and decide you're going to go to a park or whatever or watch some football as football is rolling out right now. You're going to enjoy the bread and circuses. Going to be 100,000 people in various football stadiums across the country, and all they really care about is what's going on down on the field. And I sit back and go, yeah, I'm going to watch some football if I have time with everything playing with the family. But I'm not going to lose sight of the fact of every single person in this stadium who screams USA or is, basically supporting a team that doesn't agree with the DEI and everything else. They would have no problem erasing it. They would have no problem saying, you know what? Even though you're not of that persuasion, the monkeypox is like, doing some stuff, so we're gonna have to shut it all down. Y'all all gonna have to go home. There's no football. Ain't gonna happen. Don't think if they don't get the opportunity, if they get the opportunity, they won't take it. I'm not being over dramatic. I'm telling you things you can go and verify for yourself. You can go verify that 300,000 plus kids are missing. You can go verify that Aurora, Colorado, a blue state, had two apartment complexes taken over by armed Venezuelan gangs. And as of about half an hour ago, they hadn't sent the National Guard in to basically liberate all those people. Why not? What are they waiting for? Why are they doing interviews on television instead of saying, why isn't the governor saying, go in there and get rid of these idiots? You have the firepower, you have the resources, take them out because they don't want to. They don't want to tell you where those 300,000 kids are. God forbid what's happened to these kids. Even though those 300,000 kids may be newcomers themselves, the kids don't deserve it. They had no decision in coming across the border. They had no decision in getting on a plane or the back of a bus or in the trunk of a car and being shipped anywhere. They didn't comply. They were told, go here, get in here, jump in the back of this trunk, shut up, and bye. And so, I've been for the last couple of days around my grandkids, and today my granddaughters, we spend a lot of time with them, and I just looked at these two young girls, and I just realized if somebody put a hand on them, what what I would do. We went to lunch, and it was funny. It was like my wife and I were Rambo. One of my granddaughters had to go to the bathroom. So she went to the bathroom, and I'm like this, making sure nobody's following her. I'm looking at my wife, and she's like, if she's not out in like the next 30 seconds, I'm going in. So my wife walked down the hall. I go, is there a back door? She goes, no, there's no door. So it was one way in, one way out. So we felt we had a good eye on where things were. But you got to watch your kids, man. And then when they're not in your grasp and they're out someplace, you still have to make sure you check in because these people mean evil to children. They have no problem disposing of the ones who haven't been born, and they have no problem doing God knows what with the ones that are born. And there is only one man, as my intro says, there is only one man who basically is standing up and going, "What's going on?" I am tired of hearing about hearings. And okay, we're going to subpoena this guy and subpoena. No, 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 no. We're done with that. I'm done with hearings. If people don't stand up and start doing things, we're in trouble. Because even if Trump gets elected, understand these people aren't going to stop. In fact, with 2, 3, 5, 10 million people here that we don't even know who they are, there's no telling what they're going to do. If they're willing to take over apartment complexes before the election, what do you think they're going to be told to do after an election if Kamala Harris, not if, when Kamala Harris gets beat? So those of you who have the ability, you better lock and load. I'm saying it at a great risk of the people upstairs. You better get out there and lock and load. If not, it's on you. It's on you to put your family in that kind of position and not be ready. Because I'm telling you right now, one day those people in Aurora, Colorado woke up, were about to go about their business and couldn't. I know the families put those kids on those school buses in California thinking they were going to go to school and then come home. And people tried to take the school buses. It's not far-fetched. It is not far-fetched. That's all I got to say here at the opening. All right, so it's not news, and that's scary. Yeah. Did I get a chance to watch Louder with Crowder? No, I have not. I have to check it out. You guys been talking about that. Let's see here. Ooh, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, I can tell by by your avatar you're ready. Yeah, can't say the words, but you guys know what 2A means. You got to get ready. Right, we have to fight back. Uh, enough with the stupidness. Enough. Yeah, just don't know what else to say. I've been trying to tell people over and over and over again. It sounds like a broken record, but if you see how things are escalating, I can't even imagine the amount of cojones these people must have had to say, listen, you know what? We crossed the border. We weren't supposed to be here. We're a gang. We're going to reassemble when we get here. Now we need to get some weapons. Yeah, okay, you armed? Yeah, we got guns. And so now we want to go take over apartment complex. Oh, and by the way, now we're going to start shooting at cops. And the other side, the Democrats, from the top to the bottom, haven't said a word. Not one word. That should tell you all you need to know right there. There's nobody coming to help you, especially if the Democrats get in power. They don't even care. How could Kamala Harris have, at the beginning of that interview yesterday, all she would have had to have said, taped or not, hey, Dana, hold on a second. Before we start these questions, I want to talk about what's going on in Aurora, Colorado. If I'm president, we are not going to stand for this. Matter of fact, since I'm the existing vice president, we're not going to stand for it. I've talked to Dementia Joe, and here's what we're going to do. Here's what's rolling out tonight. Don't tell me what you're going to do in January when you have the ability to do stuff right flipping now. You can call Joe on the phone or have Jill wake up or whatever. Hey, listen, we need to get some sort of special forces. I know you're not supposed to do it on American soil. Do something. Save those people, liberate them, and then worry about it afterwards if Congress comes and complains. That's what Trump would do. If Trump was in power right now, he would say, I don't care what you do. Get over there and get these people and lock them up. And if you can't lock them up, take them down and get rid of them. That would have been, man, her numbers would have went through the roof. She missed an amazing opportunity. And the reason why she probably missed that opportunity is because she doesn't want people to remember that she's the existing vice president. Because if people start understanding that, yeah, oh, wait a minute, she can't detach herself. She's the existing vice president. Since you're the existing vice president, you have a direct line to Dementia Joe or whoever else is running the country, and you could say to them, this is perfect. I'm going on CNN in about an hour. Let's go ahead and tell these people that we're sending the troops, or better yet, send the troops, and I can take credit for it. Well, I talked to Dana Bash. Didn't do anything. Not a word. Not a word. Feckless. Completely. From Dementia Joe all the way through that administration. Completely feckless. They are not here to do the number one job that the government is supposed to do. The number one job. You got one job, man. Your job is to protect Americans. And you failed and don't even want to discuss it. Never mind the 300,000 kids that you failed. That's she's evil. I believe she's absolutely evil. Giovanni says, imagine what happened when the newcomers stopped getting their money. Yeah, wow, unbelievable. Uh, Disappointed prophet. What's this say? This prophet Amanda Grace gave a prophecy this morning, and God talked about the evil spirit. Yeah, that's real. That ain't fake. They want war. Well, you know what? They might get it, but it may not be over there. At some point, people are going to say they've had enough. And I can tell you with 100% complete accuracy, if what those Venezuelan gang members did was in Florida or Texas or Bama, you would have seen something happen that I don't think the world would have wanted to see. The good old boys ain't letting that happen. Jason Aldean said it best. It ain't going to happen in a small town. It pissed people off. Go ahead and try to take over an apartment building in Texas and see what happens. I don't mean to encourage people to do it, but God help you if you think you're going to walk away from that. That ain't even happening. I'm telling you. Yeah, Luciferians at the top. Yeah, I believe that. Did Kamala work at McDonald's? So earlier today, before my stream broke down, I had played a video and I had showed some tweets where McDonald's, the corporation, had to come out because of all the pressure, and McDonald's Corporation came out and said, we have no record of anyone at any time, anywhere, named Kamala Harris working for the McDonald's Corporation. Didn't happen. She completely lied about it. And again, media says nothing. Don't want to talk about it. Don't want to hurt Kamala. It would have been front page news if it was Trump. Not that he would have ever worked at McDonald's. I mean, he eats at McDonald's sometimes, but and they make big news of that. Oh, Trump's out there eating stuff like for McDonald's. He gave this football team McDonald's when they came to the White House. But this woman lied along with the same thing that her compadre did, and they don't care. Yeah, damn straight, Barry. Yeah, it's coming. Another lie, absolutely another lie. She just keeps lying. Uh, one lie leads to bigger lies, like fracking closed the border. And the thing with her lies is that because nothing happens, because it's complete impunity, nobody questions her on those lies. When I say nobody, I'm talking about the media. It's, I can just keep saying it. Why am I worried about it? Until you get to the debate. I just wonder, here it being August 30th, just 11 days away from this so called debate, given her performance in a scripted, edited video interview, will she even do the debate? Will something come up where she says, yeah, I'm just not going to do it? Yeah, I'm not going to do this debate with him. Who knows? Who knows? Nope, she never worked at McDonald's. Um, in one breath, you condemn Kamala, and give her advice, and the next, you sound like Fox News. You better stop that nonsense. Seriously, bro, or rather, Josette, woman. Seriously, girl, you think I'm giving her advice? What I'm saying, let me clarify since you obviously missed it, because Fox News would never say this. What I'm saying is this is what she should have done if she was a real leader, which we all know she's not. What I said is she should have said this to Joe and whoever and done something that she could then have taken credit for it. That's what a real leader would do. I'm not advising her because I know she ain't going to do it. You know why I know she ain't going to do it? Because she brought him here. This is probably part of their plan. So it's not giving her advice. She is never going to ever speak out against newcomers no matter what they do. How do you know that? Because she hasn't done it. She's nearly 4 years into her, time frame of being a vice president. These 300,000 kids didn't disappear yesterday. These 10, 12 million people that they've let across the border didn't happen the day before yesterday. So there's nothing in terms of giving her advice because there's nothing she's going to do. She's never going to speak out against newcomers, period. End of story. So if you think that's something Fox News would say, I don't know what Fox News station you're watching or which host, they would never say that. They would never say that Kamala Harris would never, ever speak out against newcomers. They won't even say anything about the 300,000 kids missing. So tootle away if you don't like that. um, let's see. I can't put that up. Cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender. Yep, and other appropriate. Got to do it. That's got to happen. Wow, Kamala, is that true? Yeah, she didn't work at no McDonald's. Deport, deport, deport. And they're not going to go easy. So if you know now that there are armed Venezuelan gangs, there are probably armed Mexican gangs. There are probably armed African gangs. And you think they're just going to pick up and, okay, it's time to go home. Trump's got elected. You got another thing coming. They're getting comfortable at this point. They know what's about to happen. They know now that they're armed. If they want to eat or they want to make money, they're going to do it. The only way they get stopped, it's probably gonna have to be something militarily, which is scary, which is very, very scary. Let's see. Trump needs to debate her and expose her for the fraud and Kamala she really is. Watch what happens in the debate. If last night was any indication, they're going to give her softball after softball, allow her to make layup after layup, and talk about the stupidest stuff you could possibly imagine, and then let her do as many zingers at Trump as she possibly can get in. She can't debate him, so it won't be a normal debate. They won't say, so in terms of grocery prices, what's your plan? What's she going to say? Well, under our administration, what administration? You've been telling everybody you weren't the vice president. You're not connected to Joe. So what are you going to do? And then Trump's only got to say, well, why aren't you doing it? He can't set Kamala up like that. So when I get elected, here's what I'm going to do about gas prices. And Trump's rebuttal would just be, so why aren't you doing it? And so it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the media frames things because everything that they tee up for her, Trump's rebuttal is simple. One, you said otherwise, and two, why aren't you doing it? They're going to have to practice with her for days and days and days and tell her that's when the zingers are going to come out. When he comes up and says to her, "So why aren't you doing it?" That's when they're gonna teach her and have her come back with something really hard against him. Well, you probably wouldn't understand because you're a 34-time indicted, convicted felon. Oh, you got him, girl. You go, girl. I'm telling you, expect it. She can't answer any of the questions that people care about. She can't say Project 2025. Trump's like, I don't know what you're talking about. That ain't me. She'll try, but it's a dead talking point. She'll try and talk about him being a racist, rapist, blah 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 blah. It's not true. She doesn't care. That she needs the media to carry her. That's the problem. Uh, she's so stupid. And you know what's funny? I don't really like to call people stupid, especially people I don't know. But after watching her now for a number of years, you got to wonder, how did this woman ever get through law school? Because she looks and sounds really stupid. I mean, really stupid. The quotes that you've seen in video after video, and you're like, oh my gosh, she can't even help herself because she keeps doing it. That whole unburdened by what has been and what could be, and all, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The orange felon rules. Absolutely. So watching the stage, and as of yet, he hasn't come out. And so just to set the stage, it appears as though this is going to be a sit down chat. It's not going to be a speech. So that's going to be very interesting. Let me see if I can push this over here so you guys can see. Uh, and I'll cut the sound so in case they play any music. Uh, so you guys can
Either
see.
not being Joe Biden or not being
All
Trump,
right, so
and getting 66% more coverage than Trump from major media outlets.
So there's the set. As you can see, there's some roses in between the two people who are going to be sitting down there, and then two chairs. So Moms for Liberty, you guys can go ahead and look up who they are. It's a big organization. Obviously, Moms for Freedom, Moms for Liberty, and it's just going to be a chat, which is sort of like what it was supposed to be with the National Association of Black Journalists, but it's not. That turned into basically an attack on Trump. This won't be like that. This is going to be much more favorable. You're going to see Trump tonight in a very comfortable situation. He's going to be sit back. He's going to be relaxed. He's going to be talking. He's going to be answering questions from whoever the person is that's going to be sitting in the chair, and it's going to be a different side of Trump. Now, everyone who says that Trump has lost the women vote, the vote for women's vote, this is him talking to a lot of women, not just who are in the audience in attendance, but all the women across the country who may be tuning in. So he has an opportunity here to speak to women who want to hear what he has to say. Let me cut to this because they are talking right now.
Apparently, our sound and production team also gets Tiffany and Tina confused. So I'm Tina Deskovich, the other co-founder of Moms for Liberty. It's an honor to be here with you tonight. I think so far we've had 2 really great days at our
Let me know if you guys can hear okay. Please let me know if the sound's okay.
OG Joyful Warriors are for all of the media and all of America that's watching tonight. Who are the original Joyful Warriors? We are! We excited to have President Donald Trump here with us tonight, and I know that's who you want to hear from. But first, we're going to start off this evening in the proper way with an invocation from our National Chapter Chair Director. This woman wrangles over 300 chapters across 48 states. That's 130,000 women that she gets all marching in the same direction. Please give her a very warm welcome, Pat Blackburn.
Please welcome Pat Blackburn to the stage.
While the music's playing.
Well, hello, everyone. I get the pleasure of leading you in the invocation. And I am the Sunday school teacher at my church. And I always tell my children, when I pray, I'm leading you in prayer. That means you're praying too. So as we pray, please do also pray with me. Let us pray. Our Father God, we come to you with heavy hearts, hurting hearts, and hopeful hearts. We beg you, our Creator, our Sustainer, our Savior, to lend your ear to us. Our hearts are heavy, God. Our hearts are heavy from the chains of sin. Forgive us. Forgive our government for policies contrary to your word. Forgive us for ignoring that you are God and there is no other. Forgive us for placing ourselves and our own desires above the purpose you created us to glorify you. Oh God, convict us, forgive us, and deliver us. Our hearts are heavy and hurting. We hurt watching our children suffer. We see them being led astray in our schools. We mourn as they are abused and taken advantage of and manipulated and indoctrinated to accept lies instead of truth. Our children are made to call unrighteous things good. We, as their parents and grandparents, fight for them in their future. We are fighting to raise them in the way they should go. We fight through persecution, and what an honor to be persecuted for the cause of Christ. We are persecuted, but we are not forsaken. We are cast down, but we are not destroyed. Praise to you, God, for hope. Our hope that is found in Jesus Christ, who left heaven to suffer for us so that we can have an eternity with you. Our hope is found in the promise that while on earth, he will never leave us or forsake us. That hope lives in us. It convicts us to stand for such a time as this. And we fight to return our country to the principles in which it was founded. We pray for every righteous candidate from the school board all the way to the Oval Office. Give them wisdom, conviction, courage, and give them victory. We thank you for this hope, and we thank you for modern day miracles like the one we watched where you spared President Trump from an assassination. And that assassin will go down in history as a failure, while we give you the credit and the honor for preserving this man who has promised to fight, fight, fight for us. We know you hold us in your hand, and we know you have a plan. And so in faith, we humbly pray in Jesus' name, God bless Donald Trump, God bless Moms for Liberty, and God bless America. Amen.
That's not something you'll see
Please
at a
stand
Democrat
for our
event.
national anthem and welcome to the stage country singer Alexis Wilkins.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? God
what I'm
bless y'all.
talking
God bless
about.
America. Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about. That's not something you see the Democrats do ever, seems. Wow. A prayer and the Star Spangled Banner. Amazing. I don't know if they're going to bring out Trump to any music, then I might have to cut it. Let's see what comes up. That was simply amazing. Gave me a little bit chills there. All right, somebody coming out? Do something. Wow, powerful song. Powerful. And nothing's stuck. They just haven't brought anybody else out right now. So we're still running. And I see people, you see people walking, so you know the tape hasn't stopped. Just nothing has happened yet. And that movement of the camera, that's not me. So I guess they're not ready. That was just getting ready there. So we can go back to talking. I'll cut to that as soon as it's ready. Yeah, that was, hey Cindy, how you doing coming back there? Yeah, that was definitely goosebumpy for sure. Tulsi Gabbard is going to be here too. I didn't know that. It looks like there's only two chairs, so I would just think, just, oh, beautiful voice. You guys are right. Oh, Ashley is back here. Hey, Ash, I didn't think you were coming. Uh, I'm not crying. You're crying. Bless you all. So I'm waiting they went back to the studio and they're talking. So that was just some initial stuff. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, this is you don't see that with the Democrats. What an awesome prayer that she prayed. Powerful, very powerful. Yes, yeah, and I guess I missed it. If you missed it, go ahead and rewind. It's worth it. It's worth going back and rewinding what she just did. Both of them, the prayer and the song, both of them. Bring back normal. Exactly, bring back normal. Uh, Thank you. And I'm hoping that this thing holds up. Like I said, the storm blew through. Everything seems to be clear outside, so we should be okay. Um, you turned your volume down. Can you please raise the volume up, please? Thank you. My volume? I didn't turn my volume down. It's still there, but I can still raise it either way. So you guys can check one, too. There's a little bit louder for you. Trump, we love you. Absolutely. This is the kind of guy we need. We need him back in the office, not just for all the stuff we're talking about, but bring God back. Bring God back to this country. That's what we need. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's not fair. There's other religions and there's other deities that people want to worship." That's on them. But in any event, I don't think they're trying to take away one God. I think they're trying to remove religion completely. Remember, communism doesn't want any deity. And that's where I think another group of people miss things. They don't realize that it's not just the Christians. Right now, it's the Christians, but if they have their way, there is no other deity. It all goes away. So Jews, understand. They've been coming for you. They're going to continue coming for you. Muslims, understand. You're not getting a free pass either. I'll say it until I turn blue in the face, which would happen if this light goes out anyway. We are fighting evil. We have to coalesce as a group here. A group of multicultural people who have to get together and look at things and go, those people want to destroy my way of life. They want to destroy your way of life. You're not going to get to go to a temple. You're not going to get to go to a mosque. This is all a shell game. They want us all as loyal subjects. If you don't realize that, go back and look at your history. It's all there. All we need is people to begin looking at history, and they can realize, hey, so what was going on when Karl Marx and all the stuff that happened with communist countries? Go look. Go look and see if you were able to pray a couple times a day by putting a rug down and praying to Allah. Go check that out. See what you get. Go look and see if you could go to Shabbat on Saturdays during communism. Nope, didn't happen. Most of us know what they did to Christians, but I think a lot of people don't understand they don't care about anybody's deity. So right now, just like with RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk. People need to step back and realize, wow, they just want to change everything, don't they? Yep. And they're not making any bones about it. They want control. Everyone keeps talking about on the left. They keep talking about Donald Trump and Project 2025. Well, how about we start turning that around and letting people know? Are you all aware of the way they want to do these quote 15-minute cities? If you don't know about that, you might want to Google 15-minute cities. I told you about the Cloward Piven strategy, but now I'm giving you something else. Go look up 15-minute cities. And that's what they want for you. They don't care about gas prices being too high. Why? Because they don't want you going anywhere. They want to make sure that all you can do is just walk around in a certain area. Everything will be right there. It's not like you're going to need any food because you're going to eat the bugs, own nothing, and be happy. Where am I making that up? Go ahead and Google that. Google own nothing and be happy. I don't make this stuff up. I read and I read what these people say, and I shake my head and I'm in absolute terror of what they have planned for you. Eat the bugs, own nothing, be happy, live in a pod. I didn't make that up. It's a document put out there by the WEF, Klaus Schwab, and what they want to do. I beg of you to begin digging in. Look up 15-minute cities. Look up eat the bugs, live in the pod, own nothing, be happy. It's happening. With what she wants to do with real estate, people won't be able to buy homes, and that's fine. They're going to say, hey, well, BlackRock can do it. Plus, you don't need this house. This house is too big. You just need, a pod. Well, I have a whole family. All right, we'll get you a family pod. It's scary once you start digging into it. That's why I pretty much started this channel. I started reading at some of the stuff that they had planned, and I'm like, do people know about this stuff? The news isn't talking about it. That you have to dig and find it. But it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying when you see what they have planned. I'm older. I don't know how much time I have left on this planet. Actually, none of us does. But in terms of normalcy and looking at lifespan, I don't. I'm on the back half or the third and fourth quarter. Some of you are much younger. I'm not going to have to basically endure that stuff for too long if they get their way. My grandkids would. That's what terrifies me. That's what they're teaching these kids in schools, that everyone's the same. We're all equal. Nobody's better than you. You're not going to get an F. This all this stuff what they're doing in schools, and they're marching like zombies like I showed you in the opening video. And it's just designed to make everybody uniform. So it makes it easy to pluck people off. Go look it up. What's it? Bill Gates owned 42% of the land in America. How did they even let that happen? How did they let one man acquire that much land? Why is there no law that says, hey, listen, you're not allowed to do this? Well, because they're using capitalism to their advantage. I often hear from people, because I've been in real estate, where people will often say to me, it's not fair that BlackRock is buying up all this property. When you use that word, buying up all this property, understand it's a two-way transaction. Unless somebody actually has a gun to somebody's head, somebody's saying, yeah, I'll take that check. And next guy, I'll take that check. Someone's willing to sell, they just happen to be there to buy. It wouldn't happen if people weren't basically taking the money, which they're allowed to do, but then people complain, well, BlackRock's doing all this and all that. Funny, none of the Democrats seem to complain about Larry Fink and some of these people. They talk about billionaires and gazillionaires, right? Oh, Elon Musk, he's a bad guy. What about a company that manages $1 trillion of assets? What about companies that that own billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of assets? Don't hear them talk about that. They just happen to vote for the right party. What's going on with the accumulation of land and how they're basically doing it? Never mind the foreign countries that are taking some of the land. I don't know if you've ever spent time in your property rolls and just look at where some of the most recent sales have been and who's buying those sales. It's eye-opening. It's definitely eye-opening when you see it. That's for sure. Not entirely gentrification. We live in the boonies in California. Okay, Obama bought thousands of plastic caskets. Whew. If they talk about equity, Gates will have have to give us some of that land so we can all end up in the same place. Yeah, funny they don't talk about that, do they? They don't talk about BlackRock has to give up some of that money. No, 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 no. You know why? Because you better get used to the taste of bugs and understand what it means to live in a pod and own nothing. Google Nicole Kidman and bugs. And here is beautiful Nicole Kidman, all dressed up, hair flowing, and she's eating bugs, telling you how good it is for you. Like, what? You're telling me to go eat bugs. So you're prophesizing and letting us know this is the plan. And then you tell people like Alec Jones or sometimes me, like, oh, you guys are just being conspiracy theorists. Really? I've read it. I've actually read the document, printed it out. Okay. They want us to eat bugs. They basically want the Matrix to be real. You can't unplug. Once you start digging, I don't know how many of you consider yourselves as have taken the red pill. Once you take that red pill, there's no turning back. Once you take the opportunity to begin looking like, what the heck is Barry talking about? What is this Cloward Piven stuff he's saying? Is he just making it up? What is he talking about when he's saying the WEF wants people to eat bugs and live in a pod and own nothing? You take that red pill, it's going to give you a completely different look on life. Unfortunately, there's too many people who, like Neo, are faced with that decision. You want to take this red pill and see how deep this hole goes? Or you want to take this blue pill and forget everything you heard and just wake up tomorrow in La La Land? I think right now people need to be taking that red pill and throwing it down their throat and understand. Because then, if you take that red pill, then things start looking kind of weird when you say 300,000 kids missing, huh? 300,000 kids. What possibly could be happening with those 300,000 plus kids? And when you start looking at that red pill, you're going to be all up all night like my wife was, crying her eyes out. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody, Democrat or Republican. It's definitely third rail stuff. It is so dark and so evil, I can't even talk about it here. This is stuff that you need to get in back, in your bedroom and close the doors and disconnect the phone, take your SIM card out and start reading some stuff and going, oh my God, is this what they're really doing with kids? Are there people who are really, really doing that? I don't know if you saw the movie Sound of Freedom. This is as deep as I can go with this without getting in trouble. If you haven't seen the movie Sound of Freedom, go watch it tonight. But don't watch it alone because you won't sleep. You'll end up crying by yourself. In that movie, there's one line in that movie. And in that line in the movie, one of the actors says what struck him. There was a guy he was wayward and then he got scared straight when he heard this. And it may scare you. I'm trying to remember it. It probably won't be word for word, but he goes, these are people who used to sell our vices. He say the actual word. I can't say that. And they realize if you sell something, a kilo, an ounce, whatever, you sell it once. You make the money on that kilo, that ounce, that bag. You make it once and it's gone. You do that to a living, breathing child, and you can sell that asset, for lack of a better word, 10, 15 times a day for years. You want that red pill? Are you ready for that red pill? Because I know some people aren't. And I just remember telling my wife one night, she's like, what is this stuff you guys are talking about on Twitter? I'm like, you really want to know? You want to know how deep this thing goes? You want to find out all the different rabbit holes? Here are some links. I want you to take a look at this. And I think I've said it in a video before. Wake up the next morning, she's still sitting on the couch crying because all the stuff she had dug and followed and went and saw. It will make your hair curl even if you don't have any. When I keep saying that we're fighting a legion of doom, when I keep talking about all the different things that this, I don't even want to call them Democrat Party anymore, and what they have in store because they've told us what they want to do to us, you are going to realize you have no alternative to do what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump said, after getting shot, fight, fight, fight. If you take that red pill and start looking at some of this stuff, that's going to take on a whole new meaning to you. You're going to realize, oh my, I really have to dig in deep to this. Barry, you like a Mossberg. You have to persuade that one. Uh, Sound of Freedom was very well done. If you haven't seen that movie, I'm telling you, go watch it. So I'm checking his screen. He still hasn't come out, so he's quite late. So Barry, we are missing what? No, I'm looking at it right now. You're not missing anything. I'm looking at it right now. He has not come out on stage as of yet, and so no, you're not missing anything. Uh, what am I talking about? He's talking about the evil elitist and how they are using the drug that's made of, yeah, that stuff. Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Okay. The right shames the parents the most. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. We're literally fighting for our lives, our country, our planet, and our humanity. Yeah, absolutely. He said, I cried like your wife did. I'm a therapist, and I see the result of what happened to children as you described. Sometimes they can talk to Tisha. It's at one point, Robin wanted to volunteer to a home that rescued children, and it was so much. You speak to one of these children, and you're like, uh, uh, I can't even. You're 10, you're 11, you're 12, and I can't even begin to think what you've gone through. So it looks like we're gonna cut to Byron Donalds getting ready to talk. He just strolled out. Let's see what he has to say. But in any event, go ahead and start digging in. If you want to take that red pill, go for it. But I'm happy here to see Byron Donalds.
No, don't look away. Look right here. I know you. You see, stay right, don't move, stay where you are. Moms for Liberty. It is great to be with you at your national summit. And I've been told that this national summit is about being joyful warriors. This is what they told me. Oh. Hang tight. I'm going to come to that. No, you step forward. I know who you're with. I see who you're with. I've seen some Florida people in the front, and I love them. I love my Florida people. Love you guys. Oh, I see more Florida people over there. They're a little too excited. Y'all might have went over there. I saw the cart over there. You made a decision, didn't you? You made a decision to be a joyful warrior for children in America. And so I hear some things that might be coming up in the great state of Texas. I hear some things. But let me tell you, let's step away. Let's talk about just the nation for a moment. The decision you have made to stand for the next generation, regardless of the politics, shows the courage that is going to lead our nation into the future and lead us to doing the best thing for the children of the United States of America. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you. I had no idea that was going to happen. But I got an idea of what's going to come up in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you guys a story. I want to tell you the story that gets talked about a little bit in bios. It's about a little kid from New York City. And this little kid was told by the public education establishment that he needed other substances in order to be calm and be quiet, to just go along with what the public school system in the city of New York said was best for him. But that little boy had a mother, and that woman who's tough, super tough. She stood for her son because she believed that her son had true promise and true ability. And she decided to do the hard thing. The tough thing was to fight for her child no matter what the public school establishment said about her child. And so, Mom, I just want to tell you, that little boy that went to PS 235 in Brooklyn, New York, that kid thanks you. Because now I stand here on this stage with the joyful warriors of Moms for Liberty. And I stand with them because with all of their work, all of their efforts, all of their love, they are going to change this country for the better, and we are going to save the future of our country, which means you got to save the children of this country. So, without further ado, I want to introduce to you a lady who has made all of this possible with another friend of mine from the state of Florida who's sitting right over there. Tina, don't think I don't see you, Tina. I see you. Tina Descovich doesn't like doing this, but I respect it. But Tina, you and the lady I'm about to bring up, you guys had a vision for what is possible to demonstrate to mothers all across the country that you can stand for the future and you can be effective doing that. So thank you for your work. And ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, Tiffany Justice.
I'll put it back right on as soon as the music gets done playing. You always have to stop the music. Love me some Byron Donalds. Absolutely love him. All right. And by the way, this is live, so I see some people saying, I was missing something. No, this is actually live. So
Usually Tiffany has a lot to say, but not right now. I started today in New York. And I started today with a man who has been the leader of a movement to put America first. And people see the interviews, they see the rally speeches, they see the truths and the tweets. But what they don't see is the man. The man that I have gotten to know is a man who will do good things for anybody. He does great things for people who really can't do anything for him. But that demonstrates the true character, the true integrity of not just a man, not just a businessman, not just a mogul, because he's a mogul too, but the 45th and soon to be 47th President of the United States. Moms for Liberty, give it up for President Donald J. Trump.
So they're playing the intro, so I got to cut the music. And as soon as he goes and sits down, we will go ahead and cut right back to it. I'm reading some of the comments, and you guys seem to. I don't know if I went too far, but at least you guys understand what's going on. So, Trump is coming out. Music is playing right now. As soon as he gets seated and takes his bow, we will cut back to full screen and be talking and listening to Donald Trump and Moms for Liberty. I actually love it when he stands there and just lets the song sink in, and it's very cool to me. But as soon as this song stops, we're gonna go right back to it. Um, let's see here. Great introduction by Byron. Absolutely, it was. This looks like a very special event. I think it's gonna be. It's gonna be very interesting to hear how this sounds. Hear how this sounds. What they're gonna talk about. How they're gonna talk about it. Um, the smart blacks are for Trump. Luckily, you're a black woman, so you can say that as well. That's pretty funny. Uh, but Byron for the next Florida governor, I could see that happening. I could definitely see that happening. Absolutely. God is still in control. Yes, he is, and he wins. God wins. So in the end, we know what's coming. You didn't go too you didn't go too far, Barry. Speaking the truth. Yeah, if you haven't seen that movie, Song for Freedom, make sure you go ahead and check that out. Yeah, it's eye-opening. Definitely, to say the least. And it will indeed make you tear up. If you got a heart, it'll make you tear up. President Trump, somebody says here, has so much energy. It's admirable. Yeah, I mean, I watch this guy do these speeches, and I'm like, this takes a lot of work. He's everywhere, flying across the country. Yeah, he's got his own jet. I'm sure it's very, very comfortable, so he can do whatever he needs to. But still, 78-year-old man doing all this. I think he's going to take the weekend and then hit it again next week. So it looks like has the music stopped? Not yet. You haven't sat down. Okay, here. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and cut to it.
Thank you. Wow. That's a nice crowd. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, and it's an honor to be here. This is a nice group. We just left Pennsylvania. We had a big rally and a big speech, and I said, okay, that's it for the day, right? No, sir, you're going to D.C. now. Congratulations. So it's when I heard exactly the group, I knew it anyway, but when they reminded me this was it, this is so important. The job you've done is incredible, really, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Say how thankful we are that you're doing okay. What a scary day that was in Pennsylvania, and you are looking great, and we're so happy that you were able to join us. You and I were talking a little bit backstage, and you were sharing with me a lot of the concerns you have about the border and what you're seeing happen with illegal immigrants across the United States, and I thought I'd give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about that to start off.
Sure, because you're talking about moms and you're talking about family, such a big factor for you, just about everything. And when you look at what's happening in our country, this is so tough. You know, it's one thing you don't drill oil or you don't do something that you can do with a new group coming in, but millions and millions of people, 21 million people, I think the real number is, that you hear 13, 14, 15, like that's not a big number, but it is, but 21 million people. And many of these people are criminals. Many of these people are coming out of the roughest countries in the world, and they're coming from all over the world. They're not just coming from South America. You know, everyone thinks they're coming from like Guatemala El Salvador. They're coming from Mexico. They're coming from everywhere. I was speaking to the Border Patrol. They said in the last 12 months, 159 different countries were represented by people having come in illegally. And that's some number. But these are tough people. They're coming out of the jails. They're coming out of the mental institutions. They're coming out of prisons. And they're just coming out of, there's a difference between a prison and jail. It's subtle. But I say that they come out of mental institutions and insane asylums. There's a difference there also. And they're coming into our country at levels that nobody's ever seen. And I've been saying for 2 years that this has got to stop. I've been saying for longer than that, but for 2.5, 3 years, I said this has to stop. And now it's catching up with us. And you see what's going on in Colorado. I don't know if anybody got to see Aurora. I mean, they're taking over the city. They're taking over apartment complexes. These are young, very tough people. These are tough. They make our criminals look nice. That's the only thing good about them. Our criminals are like nice people by comparison. And if you saw the Colorado thing, and this is happening all over, just not Colorado, but the Colorado thing caught the imagination because there were many of them with the biggest weapons that you've ever seen. And these came from Venezuela, which is emptying out all of its criminals. You know what? Venezuela crime is down like 72%. Because they're bringing all of their criminals from Caracas and everywhere else. They're bringing them to the beautiful USA. Thank you very much, Venezuela. We appreciate it. And we're allowing it to happen because we have open borders. And again, this is happening with every continent. We have Africa well represented, coming out from the Congo. 22 people came in recently from the Congo. Where do you come from? We come from prison. What did you do to get into prison? We will not tell you. Bad stuff. And we have them here. No intention of bringing them back. None whatsoever. And they're all over the country. But now what they're doing, you know, if you think 21 million, so if you say a certain large percentage of them are bad, because when you empty out your prisons and you empty out your mental institutions, it's a lot of people. It's bigger than most armies are in our country, if you add them up totally. So we had 159 countries, let's say, but we have massive numbers of people. And what happened in Aurora today is incredible because they basically have just taken over a swath and a building, and the people are petrified. The people living in the building, they're leaving. And when they tell the police about it, I mean, the police, you know, they don't need AK-47s, that's a very powerful weapon. I learned a lot about weapons over the last 6 weeks, I will tell you. There's a big difference between different weapons. But they're coming in with very powerful weapons. And the police, you know, you have a few policemen that are saying, wait a minute, we're totally outnumbered. Plus they have guns that are, you know, many times the power of what we carry. We don't carry rifles and machine guns and things like they're wielding around pretty freely and know how to use them. And this is affecting our schools because we want to talk about schools. And they're taking over schools. We have MS-13 gangs. They're the toughest gangs, they say, in the world, probably are. I got them out by the thousands. I took them out by the thousands. Obama couldn't get them out because the country wouldn't allow them to come back in. They were putting airplanes, big airplanes on the runway so you couldn't land the planes. They'd have to come back to the United States loaded up with these same people that they were supposed to take out. And I got them to take them by stopping aid, $750 million to different countries. And I won't go through the story too much, but basically I said, how much money do we pay to Guatemala and to a few other countries? And the number was $750 million, which is a lot, but it's not that much. We give so much money away. It's so crazy. To countries that hate us. By the way, we give a lot of money away every year to Afghanistan. Billions and billions of dollars. And I think that Harris and Biden, I always start now by Harris, a Marxist. She's a Marxist, by the way. People are finding that out. But she's a total Marxist. Her father's a Marxist. He's a Marxist professor. He teaches, I guess, the economy from a Marxist perspective, and he taught her well. But when you look at what was happening, you couldn't get the people out. And when I said, you're going to get these people out of here, the general came to me, sir, they won't take them back. Who won't take them back? The countries from where they came. And they would put airplanes on the runway. They block up the bus routes. They block up everything. So we'd bring them back, and you couldn't bring them back, Tiffany. So it's such a horrible thing. And I said, how much aid do we pay them, sir? We pay them $750 million combined. I say, that's a lot of money. That's a lot. Well, tell them we're not paying them anymore. It's effective immediately. Yes, sir. And they told them that. And the following morning, I come into the beautiful Oval Office, that Resolute desk, which is so beautiful. You know, now Biden goes around using that. He didn't even know the name of the Resolute desk. Now he tells us, I sit behind the Resolute desk. He doesn't even know what the hell it is. This guy. That's a beauty. Boy, I tell you, did they do a coup on him? Anyway, so I said, tell him that's not happening. So the following morning, I get to the office and I get a call from 3 countries, let's not use names, and all very smart leaders. I'd be doing the same thing if I were them, to tell you the truth. I'd say, empty out my prisons, dump them into the United States, don't ever let them back. And I would be doing it every bit as much as them. I don't blame them if they can get away with it, but they shouldn't be able to get away with it. So I said, you're not going to get the money. They call me up. They say, sir, I understand. And I know all 3 of them. I know all of them. I know all the leaders. They're all at the top of their game. And we have a bunch of dead weights, okay? We are being taken advantage of as a country so much. I've never seen anything like it. So they said, essentially the same conversation. Sir, good morning, sir. I understand there's a problem, sir. You have to understand, this has gone on for 10 years. They wouldn't take their people back. They wouldn't take MS-13 back. They dumped them in our country, wouldn't take them back. I said, well, you know, you're sending them up in the caravans and other ways, and you're not taking them back. You're never getting any more money from the United States. Sir, we would like to take them back. We would love to have MS-13 back with us. We think they're such wonderful people. Anyway, they made it very easy for us to get them back, and we took them back by the thousands, and we took also a lot of others back. And then these clowns took over the country, and everything closed up. And by the way, they're paying them now $4 billion, I understand. Can you believe it? And they don't take them back. It's just so sad to see what happens. They're paying much more money than I was talking about. They raised it. They actually felt it was good to pay them more. They said, why? They said, economic development. It's not economic development. It's the development of a dictator. Because they keep the money. They're not doing any economic development. We have the dumbest people in history running our country. Okay? The dumbest in history. And we have to get these people. So we brought it back at all. But what's happening to our country is being poisoned, and your schools and your children are suffering greatly because they're going into the classrooms, they're taking the seats, and they don't even speak English. It's crazy. And we have our people that aren't going into a classroom. We have students that were there last year. They're not allowed into the school this year. They're not allowed. It's crazy. We have our veterans sleeping on the streets, and we have illegal immigrants coming into our country living in luxury hotels above where the veterans are. It's so reverse of what it should be.
So I know you love New York City. I'm from New York originally. My dad grew up in Brooklyn in Flatbush. Yeah, New York. But like many other cities in America right now, it's a city in decline. You were in New York when Mayor Giuliani really did great reforms.
Right. He was such a great mayor. And, he also fought for a lot of things that he should. Hey, he was right about the laptop from hell. He was the one that came out. Rudy was right. Rudy was right about a lot of things. They have a hat. Trump was right about everything. But Rudy was right about a hell of a lot. He was right. He was the first one to see the laptop, I guess. And he revealed what was on there, and everyone hit him hard. He's actually a very brave guy. But he was a great mayor, and he took over the city when it was in really bad shape and very dangerous, and he made it the safest big city in the country, and made it beyond that. It was a vibrant city, and now it's got tremendous problems. And in all fairness, look, you have hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants here. How do you do it? You can't run it. I read where they're spending billions of dollars. I thought New York had no money, and yet they're spending billions of dollars of money, and it's not given by the federal government. So how are they doing this? The city is suffering, and they're all suffering. No city can take in, when you think that 21 million people came into our country, that's bigger than New York. 21 million people came into our country. No country can take that. Nobody can withstand that. It's going to bring us down. And in addition to that, many of these people are hard criminals. And we have to get them out. And we're going to have deportation at the highest level we've ever had. As a higher level, the highest deportation was a pretty moderate guy, but Dwight Eisenhower, he hated that our country was being swamped. And Dwight D. Eisenhower, president of the United States, a good president, good general. He won because he's a general. And, generals, by the way, I don't know, a little statistic. So of the presidents, 92% were politicians, and 8%, before me, 8% were generals. And then I came along. And I don't think any rich guy will ever do it. They're looking at Trump, they're saying, I don't know. They all wanted to do it. They said, if Trump can do it, I can do it, I can do it. But they see what you have to go through. They're saying, maybe I won't give it a shot.
So let's talk a little bit about family, because we really feel at Moms for Liberty that family and parental rights are under attack in America. All of America got to meet your granddaughter Kai at the Republican National Convention. It's very obvious that you love being a father and a grandfather. So I'd love to know why you choose and continue to choose to work with your children in business and politics. And do you have any advice for people with working with your kids?
Well, I've always liked it. I don't know that I'll be doing it very much politically, because I think it's been very unfair to them. Like, Ivanka was she could have done anything. Great student, great, beautiful girl, beautiful everything. She was a perfect person, worked hard. She gave up. Do you remember the Ivanka line and all?
I loved those shoes. Please tell your daughter. She made great shoes.
She was making so much money with that thing. I was saying, what the hell is going on? It was so hot. And then I ran for politics. And the truth is, she wanted to come. She pretty much gave it up. It was really good. Great shoes, great everything. Very stylish. And a lot of people still talk about it. But she gave it up because she wanted to go, and she didn't want something like the United Nations secretary. I wanted her to do that. I said, you would be a great ambassador to the United Nations secretary. There'd be nobody to compete with her. I tell you, she may be my daughter, but nobody could have competed with her rat-tat-tat, the whole deal she's got. And she said, Daddy, I don't want to do that. I just want to help people get jobs. And she would go around, not a glamorous job, but she felt so good about it. She would go around to see Walmart, to see Exxon, to see all these big companies, to hire people. And she had hired like millions of people during the course of her stay. And I mean, always there was nothing ever good. It was just very tough. I think if she were a Democrat, it would have been, it's much easier to be a Democrat, let me put it that way.
Apparently you don't have to take any interviews.
That's right, you don't have to do anything. We saw that the other night. And you won't see too many more interviews, and I have a debate coming up with this one. And she didn't want to debate. She didn't want to debate. They were not happy about it, but they got the network that they wanted. This network is the worst of all. George Slopadopoulos, you know who he is. But they are the worst in terms of that. So they wanted the network. And, it was like with Biden. They came to me, they wanted to do a debate. I said, isn't it a little bit early? Like, we just started. Do you want to do it now? And yes, yes. And they thought that if they said it was going to be Dana Bash, who last night was extremely easy. There was no like, why aren't you doing this? Or why did you say 1,000 times that there'll be no fracking in Pennsylvania, and then all of a sudden say, oh, we'll have fracking?
It felt like a multiple choice quiz. She would give her like several answers that she could have given.
Yeah, they were feeding it to her. I was surprised, actually. I mean, I was surprised she didn't do a lot of interviews, but she's not good at it, I guess. And they knew that. They knew something that we didn't know. I think she would have been better off if she just did interviews, even if they weren't great. It would have been better than, because now everyone's watching, and now we see she's defective. She's a defective person. And we don't need another defective person as president of the United States. We just had that.
I've heard you talk about your mom in interviews before. She was obviously a very strong woman. Was she hard on you with school? Tell us about your mom a little bit.
No, she wasn't. She was great. I had a great mother, great father, very different people. My mother came from Scotland, and she came over to this country. Are there people from Scotland? You know, actually, that's hidden. Do you know that some of the biggest, smartest, most brilliant leaders in business come from Scotland, and nobody knows it? Or at least, you know, their parents came from Scotland. But Scotland did very well in this country. I'll tell you, it's very, like, we have people, and I know that one group, they're a very successful group. Now, she came from Scotland, great place, and she came over just for the summer, and she was 19, I guess. And she met my father, and they had a very long marriage. I said, I'll never top you on that, Pop. You know, you always want to be a little bit better than your father if you can, a little more. And my father loved that. You know, some fathers don't like it. When you have a father that doesn't want his son to be a success, well, you got a problem with a father. But there are plenty of them. I've seen plenty of them. They make it actually hard for the son. But no, I had the opposite. I had a father that loved what was happening. But they met. They fell in love, they got married, and they were married for 6.5 decades.
Wow.
A long time. I said, Pop, I'm not going to be able to beat you with that. But anyway, and they had just a great marriage, very different people, but they had a great marriage, very, very strong marriage.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about The Apprentice.
Okay.
We talk a lot at Moms for Liberty that we're in the middle of a cultural revolution in America. People like to be dismissive and say it's a culture war, but truly the culture is being changed. I look at you as a president and perhaps our next president, hopefully our next president. That's right. And you are a cultural icon. So you had The Apprentice. It ran for, am I right, is it 14 seasons?
14 seasons, 12 years, yeah. We had actually one season where it was on for 3 times during the season. That means they liked it. But it was basically 12 years and 14 seasons, yeah.
How do you think you kept the audience that long?
Well, it just worked. I mean, we had... Mark Burnett is great, a producer. He did Survivor. And he came to me, and they rented the Woolman Rink. He wanted to rent it for the finale of Survivor. So it'd have like this jungle setting facing New York City, right in the middle of Central Park. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. And he invited me. I didn't know him, but he was a young producer. He was the producer of the Survivor. And he was hot because Survivor was a very successful show on CBS. And I went there. I said, wow, this is great. I rented him the rink, so I wanted to see it also, but he invited me. I went there, watched the show. And he said, I really invited you because I have a concept of a show. And it's sort of Survivor with the asphalt jungle aspect of it, right? The Apprentice. And he told me, and I said, wow, that's interesting. He said, I'll only use you. There's nobody else I want to do it. If you don't do it, I'm not going to do it. So I thought about it. And I had an agent from a very big agency, and he said, don't do it, you don't do it. There's never been a business show in history that's been successful. Business shows are not successful in prime time. There's never been, I guess, a business show successful. I said, well, this isn't really a business show. This is sort of a different kind of a show than a business show. It's got a little business to it, but really it's more than a business show. He said, don't do it. He was a very respected guy, actually. He was a good guy, but he told me not to do it, don't do it. And then I made the deal with ABC, and the deal was done. And then Eisner, you remember Eisner, previous guy a while ago. He's heard about the deal, and he broke the deal. He said, I can make a better deal than that, so let's make a better deal. And I got angry about it, and so did Mark Burnett. And everybody wanted us. They wanted us. So we got a call from Jeff Zucker, of all people, from at the time from NBC. Then he was heading up NBC, and they were having a real drought. They hadn't had a top 10 show in a long time, and they were not doing well. And I'll never forget, we walked into his office. He took the key out of the door and threw it under the chair in Rockefeller Center. He locked the door. He said, you're locked in. We're not going to leave the room until we have a deal. So we made a deal, and ABC was not happy about it. Actually, the man from ABC that made the deal with us, the top person, I think like the president, he quit over this. And he quit. He said, we made a deal with these people, and he was second guessed by Eisner. And he actually quit, and there was a lot of anger about it. But we made a deal with NBC instead of ABC. We did have the original deal with ABC. Anyway, it goes on television, and the first week it was like at number 10, which is very, very hard. And by the way, the agent told me, you've got to break the deal. You're going to be embarrassed because you're going to have a total failure, and you're going to be embarrassed. So it goes on. It opens at 10, which is amazing. And NBC was happy because now they have a top 10 show. And then it went through various things like number 8, number 7. It got progressively better. And it finished up as the number 1 show on television. I'm sitting there. Can you believe this? And, I mean, you remember. It was just the hottest.
I watched The Apprentice. We love the show, yeah.
The finale actually of that season had 42.5 million. It was second to the Super Bowl. It was always the Academy Awards, and we beat the Academy Awards. Since then, the Academy Awards has gone to hell. It's incredible. You know why? Because all they do is, political stuff. They've destroyed it. But, so it finished up, and number 1, and I'll never forget, and I enjoyed it. I said, I have the number 1 show, and I didn't even have an agent. And so I get a call from the agent. I'll never forget, 6 o'clock in the morning, he called me. He says, I want to congratulate you. Show's number 1. I said, yeah, it is. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. He said, could I come over and see you? I said, why? He said, so we could work out a fee. I said, you told me not to do it. There's no way I'm paying you a commission. You told me not. They wanted to get a commission. I said, there's no way. I said, if it was up to you, I would have never done it. I have the number 1 show. You said I couldn't make it. So these are little things. But it was successful for years. It just did well. And then around the 13th, actually the 12th season, they put me into a poll with a real stiff named Mitt Romney, total stiff. This guy's bad news. He's worse than a rhino. And and he was running, and they just put me into a poll. I think it was NBC, and I was watching Meet the Press, actually, and with Sleepy Eyes Chuck Todd. Did you ever hear of him? He's a sleepy guy, isn't he? Sleepy Eyes, another beauty. So they put me into a poll, and in the poll, I go to number 1. I rated number 1. Romney's a senator, and I was in various polls, and I kept saying, I'm always rated number 1. And I wanted to get out, but I couldn't get out of the contract because I had an apprentice. Plus, I had 2 buildings that I was finishing. I wanted to get them finished. Not good when you don't finish them. Rely on somebody else. You don't want to do it. But I said, maybe if I have a chance, I'll do it the next time. And I did it the next time I ran. And we had 17 people. It was a rather violent series of debates, if you remember, right? Rosie O'Donnell, only Rosie O'Donnell. That was a tough one. Only Rosie O'Donnell. You've said this and that. I won't use the terms. You've called women this and that and that. And a lot of it was show business related. I said, only Rosie O'Donnell. And the place went crazy. And the second question I got was Brett Baer. He said, this was a Fox one. He said, please raise your hand if you will not support the winner of the group of 17 people, whoever wins the nomination. So I raised my hand. I was the only one. I said, I can't say for sure I'm going to support. I don't like certain of the people. I don't know them. A couple of them I do. You remember that? Those were my first two questions. Only Rosie O'Donnell, and I raised my hand. And I said that. I was honest, and the place went crazy. So actually, they were two of the more interesting. They were the first two questions I had. I went through a lot of debates. I went through like 14, 15 debates then. Then we had the debate with crooked Hillary Clinton. Remember that one?
Oh, that
was pretty good.
Who doesn't remember that debate?
That was a pretty good one. Crooked Hillary, she was a crooked one. And we had, what? So politics has been very interesting. It never stops, right? Then we had the debate last time with Sleepy Joe Biden. How did he do? He was sharp as a tack.
I would just like to say, I thought you handled yourself so beautifully in that interview. I have to be honest.
Thank you.
But for many Americans who have watched as their family members have aged and have experienced dementia, it was difficult to watch President Trump. I think there were a lot of parents that were watching with their children, and there was a moment when he had a very hard time collecting his thoughts, and I just thought that you handled it with such grace. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Well, I was a little surprised, and I was surprised by a lot of things. So I came on the stage and I looked, and I looked at him just for a brief moment because I really didn't look at him. I didn't want to look at him. I was angry at him because I think he's done a horrible job for the country. I think he's been the worst president we've ever had, and that includes the worst vice president. She's been rated the worst vice president, and don't forget, she was last in terms of getting the job. She competed for his job, and I think they had 22 people or something, and she was the first one to quit. She bombed, and she quit, and then all of a sudden she's now running. And from my standpoint, I spent $100 million fighting Joe Biden, and even during the convention, we're only talking about Biden, and then we're not fighting him anymore. We're fighting somebody else. He got 14 million votes. I'm not saying he should have gone on, but I think it seems unfair because a lot of people did a lot better than him. Like you had a person that came in second and third and fourth, and Bernie Sanders actually essentially came in second place, I guess, right? And so you'd say, why aren't you doing a democratic process? So, I'll give them some of their stuff. They are a threat to democracy. They say
that's right.
They are a threat to democracy. So she was the nastiest person to him. Remember, she called him a racist. The bus, you remember the story of the bus, fake story probably. Well, she also said, I worked at McDonald's. It turned out she didn't work at McDonald's. Did anybody see that? After an exhaustive study that took about 20 minutes, they found out she never worked there. So, there's a lot of fake stuff going on. But we don't need that for a president. And our country can't stand it. We are really in trouble. We're a failing nation, whether you like it or not. And I'm sure you don't like it. But we are a very sick nation. We're a failing nation. And on top of it, we have millions of people in here that we can't have them if they were great, but you're not going to have people where they're emptying the doors to jails and emptying the doors to mental institutions where seriously sick people are coming into our country. And no country can stand this. There's no country can stand it. So I was not happy with him because, I only did it because I want to help the country. I didn't need this. I had a very nice life. Some of you know, I see some of you in here, you've known me for a long time, long before politics. I had a nice life. But even running again, if I thought he was good and I thought he was doing a good job, I would have been happy. But he's not. He's doing a horrible job. And, he's been absent for a long time. If you go back 25 years, he wasn't the brightest bulb in the ceiling, I can tell you that. And he was not doing a job. And I've told this, that I mean it. I would have been happy if he were a great president. And I wouldn't have run. I wouldn't have run. I also wouldn't have run if I didn't think I won the election. I mean, I think we won that election by so much. If I thought I lost that election, I absolutely I wouldn't have run because I would have lost the election. But I think we did phenomenally. I mean, honestly, we got millions of more votes than we did in the first election. We did great in the first one, we won. And I was told we got 63 million votes in the first election. I was told if we get 63 million votes, same number, there's no way we can be defeated. I got 10 or 12 million votes more than that, more than anybody had ever got. We got the most votes of anybody, of any sitting president in history. And he beat us by a whisker. And it was a terrible thing. They used COVID to cheat, and it was a terrible thing. And then I watched, and I thought it was very, very sad because of, the election it brought great division to the country. But I watched, and I saw how bad things were. I saw the border, the open border and everything. I found out about the open border when we built hundreds of miles, and then we had a little bit more that I was going to add because there were certain areas that you needed it. And we had everything fabricated, very expensive wall. Those walls are expensive. They're steel, concrete, and rebar. And they have a lot of wiring in them for all sorts of security equipment. But it's very expensive stuff. It's exactly what Border Patrol wanted. They have anti-climb bars and everything on them. So we did them. It could have been erected in 3 weeks. And they kept saying, we're not going to do it. And then I realized they weren't going to do it. And they sold much of that wall for 5 cents on the dollar. So, that's when I realized they actually want open borders. Because you say to yourself, who would want open borders? Think, who would want men playing in women's sports? But just think of this stuff. No, but who would want that? All the things.
Kamala Harris, apparently.
Yeah. No, she wants it. You talk about like cars. I'm a big fan of Elon. Elon gave me tremendous endorsement. It's good, isn't it? He's going to have to send a rocket up to get those people out of there. That's crazy. He's great. I said, when are you sending a rocket up? Well, Elon is a very different kind of a guy. As he thinks, he talks. Whereas a lot of people, they want the words to be perfect and all. And they think less and talk more, right? With Elon, it's like, well, I'm doing a new stainless steel hub that can get us around the engines much quicker because there's a problem with the type of engine going into space nowadays. And I'm hearing but in the end, I think we can have a good hookup because of the new foils that are coming up. And I'm hearing everything that's going through his mind. But he's a super genius guy.
Oh, I loved that conversation that you had on Twitter. I listened to the whole thing. I thought that was absolutely fantastic.
I think we're going to do another one, too. They had a number, like I heard 750 million. They had a number that was so crazy and large. And we had a good time. We talked for 2.5 hours. And, it was the number one ever. There's never been anything like it in terms of people listening or watching or whatever. But he's a great guy. But I said to him, the one thing is that, and I'm a huge fan of his electric car. I think it's incredible, his car. I think what he does. And I'm a big fan of electric, but they don't go far. And they are expensive. And China does have the material. We have gasoline, more gasoline than anybody else has. I call it liquid gold. We have liquid gold. But and electric absolutely has a place. You have electric, but you have to have gasoline-powered cars and hybrid-powered cars, and maybe hydrogen is going to be next. Who knows? But the things that they're proposing. It's interesting. I mentioned men playing in women's sports. So the Olympics, we watched the Olympics, right? And did you see the boxing situation, right?
Yes, sir, we did.
So you had this beautiful champion Italian female boxer, and she was supposed to be very good against women. And I was watching it for some reason, I find it very interesting. And she was fighting a person that transitioned. And I wouldn't want to fight this person, but transitioned and met certain qualifications.
So can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
Because Elon, you're talking about Elon Musk. Elon Musk recently did an interview with Jordan Peterson, and he talked about the fact that one of his children has decided that they're transgender. He talked about the woke mind virus. When you look at Tim Walz, who is now Kamala Harris's running partner, he has made his state a sanctuary city, sir, which means that a sanctuary state, for children, that they can go there and have gender surgeries paid for by the government. And so I just ask you, there's been an explosion in the number of children who identify as transgender. And children are being taught that they were born in the wrong body. It's an incredibly abusive message to send. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you might be able to do as president.
Well, you can do everything. President has such power. It does. It has such power. For instance, you can close the border. You don't need a bill. You know, they keep saying, well, just give us a bill. They had the worst bill I've ever seen. It was a disaster. And they wouldn't have signed it anyway, because they do want open borders. They want to have open borders. They want to have all sorts of things that almost nobody in this room wants, who I think 85-90% of the country doesn't want if they actually
I absolutely
know about
agree
it.
with you.
But the transgender thing is incredible. Think of it. Your kid goes to school and comes home a few days later with an operation. The school decides what's going to happen with your child. And, you know, many of these childs 15 years later say, what the hell happened? Who did this to me? They say, who did this to me? It's incredible. Just to finish that boxing, so the Italian girl is, and the left is not a hard punch for those of you not into pugilistic affairs. But a left is just sort of a guarding punch, right? So she's fighting this person that's transgendered, and the guy, boom, hits her with the left. It was like she got hit by a horse. And then she backed up, and it was weird. She's sort of like, and then he hits her with another left, and she said, that's enough, I can't take that. He ended up winning the gold medal. And there was another one who also transgendered, and he or she ended up also winning the gold medal. Yeah. Tiffany said it, I didn't. See, I'm a politician. I have to be politically correct.
I'm a mom. I have to protect my kids.
No, but think of it. So the two people, the transgender, the whole thing is crazy. Have you seen the swimming records lately?
Oh, my goodness.
How about the weightlifting records? That's one of the best. You know, a record that was like for 18 years. They'd put a quarter of an ounce on one side, a little bit on one, a little bit. I think held for 18 years. This guy walks along. What did he beat the record by? 115 pounds. It's crazy. The volleyball, where a championship volleyball player is playing against a team, and one or two of the people had transitioned, and the ball was hit so hard into the head of the other girl on the other side that she was knocked out, had a concussion, and she said, you know, she was a championship player, like an all-American player. She said, I played volleyball all my life. I've never seen a ball travel at that speed. It's crazy. And even with all of that, they won't change. And you know what? Everyone's afraid to talk about it.
Not
even
me.
the people, not Tiffany. Not Tiffany.
We're going to fight to keep our girls safe, President Trump. We're going to fight to make sure that our girls have privacy and safety in their bathrooms, and that they have Kristi Noem, I think, said it best. She said, we will not allow mediocre men to beat extraordinary women.
Yeah. That's right. It's also very demeaning to women. I don't know how they get away with it. But the Olympics was the best thing that I've seen, because you really see when these boxers came out, it was so ridiculous, and they just go through it like nothing. And why should women have to, swimming too, why should women have to compete? Now, it's sort of hard to get in. I don't know how these two people got in, but they got in because in some cases, they weren't allowed in, so they have a crazy standard going on. But it's so demeaning to women, and women are working so hard to make a team or to make a record. And these records that are being set now by people that transitioned will not be broken. That's right. Maybe 1,000 years from now by a woman, I don't know. But they're not going to be broken by a woman. It's a very sad thing. And Kamala is totally in favor. Now, she's gone away from everything. She's called the greatest flip-flopper in history. She loves fracking now. She said, there will never be fracking. We will never frack. And everything that she said would do, she's now doing it. There's like 12 or 14 things. There's never been anything like this. And, in one way, it makes you very dishonest because, I could see somebody throughout history, people have gone into one or two areas where there's a difference. You like something and then all of a sudden but almost every single thing. In fact, we're seriously thinking about sending her tomorrow a MAGA hat because she loves everything we're doing. So we're going to send her a nice, bright red, Make America Great Again hat.
You should do that. I loved when J.D. Vance said that he thought maybe she might come out at the debate with a blue suit and a red tie on.
That's right. That could happen. It's crazy.
So President Trump, our moms are busy women and they have families and busy lives, right? And many of them never thought that they would get involved in politics and run. Did you ever think about running for office at other times in your lives? And then just some advice, because you come under fire a lot. Our moms are standing for things that often the media attacks them on. We'd love to get some advice from you about running for office.
Yeah, so I would say don't do it.
No, run for office. We want you to run for office.
I do say this, though. It is nastier to run as a Republican than it is. Now, I'm the ultimate, they suffer from a thing called TDS. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
TDS, it's a horrible, horrible terminal disease. It destroys the mind. It destroys the mind before the body, but the body eventually goes. TDS is Trump derangement syndrome. They have it at levels. They can't even stand their life. They can't stand anything. And, part of the reason is I won an election which everybody said couldn't be won. Couldn't be won for a lot of reasons. Number one, he had never done it before. It's not that easy to be a politician. You have to have something. And we won, and we really did a great job. We rebuilt the military. We gave the largest tax cuts ever, the largest regulation cuts. In terms of health, we did something that was amazing. We had right to try. We have the greatest scientists the world, greatest doctors in the world, greatest laboratories in the world, better than anybody else, much better than China. China's very good, but much better. Acknowledged. And we have things to fight off diseases that will not be approved for another 5 or 6 years, that people that are very sick, terminally ill, should be able to use. But there was no mechanism for doing it. And I got everybody into a room. The insurance companies didn't want to allow it because they're terminally ill. They don't want to do it because then they'll get sued for somebody dying even though they're terminally ill. The states didn't want it. The government didn't want it, the federal government. Most of all, the doctors and the labs didn't want it because they didn't want to say that we're going to try and make somebody better. They didn't get better, and now everyone's going to say whatever it is doesn't work. And I got them all into a room, everybody, and I said, here's what we're doing. You're going to sign these documents. Nobody's going to have liability. If somebody wants to come, because, they'd fly to Asia, they'd fly to Europe, most of them didn't have money, they'd go home and they'd die. It was a hopeless situation. But if they had money, they'd go to Asia, they'd go to Europe. We have much better technology. And what happened is I got everybody in a room. I said, listen, there's not going to be any liability. People are going to sign a document that they're not going to sue the country, they're not going to sue the state, they're not going to sue the doctors or the medical platforms, they're not going to sue anybody. They just want the drug. And we have saved thousands and thousands of lives. It's amazing. It actually worked out differently. The drug companies now are liking it to a certain extent because it's the ultimate test. Somebody's terminally ill, and all of a sudden they get better, and it's happening with thousands. And I got that done. They've been trying for 60 years to get it done, and we got it done. They don't have to fly away. And it's really had the reverse. People were finding cures to things that when a terminally ill person, a person that's almost ready to die, goes in and starts taking something, and now all of a sudden that person gets better. It's an amazing thing, and we save thousands of lives. So we've done a lot of things, a lot of things.
We'll talk about parental rights if we could for a little bit. We're a parental rights organization. And we saw Terry McAuliffe lose his bid for governor in Virginia. Remember that?
Yeah. I actually do remember.
And he said famously that he didn't think that parents should be making decisions about what their children were learning in school. And we believe that every parent has a fundamental right to direct the upbringing of their children, right? And that includes their education. So what do you plan to do at the federal level to help us to protect parental rights and education freedom like school choice?
Okay, so I like to say that we're the party of common sense. I mean, we're conservative and all of that. But walls are common sense, right? All of the things we're talking about, no men and women sports, no gender operation. I mean, there's these operations, it's crazy. You know, I don't know if you know, Europe has gone totally away from it now.
Yes, sir.
We're way behind them. They don't do it anymore. And this is just horrible. But who could even believe this is happening? So think of it. You have these parents that end up in fistfights at school meetings, and the parents mean well. They end up getting arrested, put in prison. I've seen things, especially Loudoun County, right? Loudoun County, it's a hotbed. Anybody from Loudoun? But it just, you know, I have the property. I have the big, great golf course there, right on the. I offered. You had the head of one of your groups that was very impressive to me, and I said, anytime you want to use my land along the Potomac River, right under the American flag. I mean, I have sort of an unlimited capacity there. It's a lot of acres, and it's miles along the Potomac. It's truly beautiful. But you know, I'm for parental rights all the way. I don't even understand the concept of not being.
Thank you.
No, but when you see some of the things,
neither do we.
When you see some of the things, that's another. You know, like why would somebody want to have an open war? Why would when you see some of the things that they want people to do in these school boards, and they become like dictatorships, and the parents are screaming for the life of their child, a lot having to do with transgender, a lot having to do with a lot of other things. You've got to give the parents truly love the kids, okay? Some of these people on the boards, I think they don't like the kids very much, what they're doing. So you have to give the rights back to the parents. And I can't imagine it. Well, okay, this administration has been the opposite. This administration, it's like the FBI goes after the people. Like it's some kind of an insurrection. It's
yes,
crazy.
Sir. They called us domestic terrorists, President Trump,
Can
for
you believe
speaking
it?
out at school board meetings defending
Well, we'll
our
change
children.
that on the first day, I promise you that. No, can you believe it? You are not a domestic terrorist or a terrorist. We do have terrorists coming in, and they're coming in by the thousands, but you're not one, Tiffany.
Thank you very much.
We'll get that changed. And you know, the president can do that very easily. But you just wonder, where's the mindset to take the parents' rights? I see those meetings, and it does seem like Loudoun has a lot. You know, Loudoun is the ultimate example of it. It's so vocal. But tell the people in Loudoun County, if you would like to be on the Potomac River, beautiful, having a picnic and talking about taking your rights back, where you're allowed to say, could my son study a little bit of arithmetic instead of something else?
Could we teach the kids to
that
read?
He should. That's correct.
That's right.
Yeah, let's teach him how to read. please. So, let them know that, though. That would be my honor.
I absolutely will, and thank you for that. We appreciate the support.
Thank you.
So, Tina Deskovich, the co-founder of Moms for Liberty, and I, we do a lot of interviews, and there's a lot of international interest, specifically Japan. We get asked for a lot of interviews, and we were talking with a reporter, and we said, why is there so much interest in Moms for Liberty in Japan? And he said, we are watching America's light dim, and we're very concerned, and we want to know what you're doing about it, and you guys are doing something. And so I feel like America is slipping back from the freedom and liberty and the beacon of light that we've been. So how will you take us forward
We're
again?
a nation in decline. We are. And it's because of the people that we have leading our nation. We are a nation. I say this, and I said it a little bit in 2016, and I meant it. We had a bad border, but it was like unbelievably good compared to what we have now. I mean, we had a bad border, but it was a regular bad border. This is a border the likes of which there's never been anything like it. This is a horrible... many people are killed coming up in the caravans. It's rough stuff. You go through snake country, you go through... it's just... These what happens... And by the way, remember I said rape when I first came? Well, rape is massive percentages of women are being raped and just beat to hell coming up in the caravans. It's, I say this, look, this is a very sophisticated audience. Mothers give their girls big bottles of birth control pills because they know bad things are happening to their daughters coming up. And we're allowing it to happen. We're telling them, come up, we're going to give you education, we're going to give you this. We're getting them to come up. If you say the border is closed, and it is closed, people aren't going to even come up. Those journeys up, when you talk about death, many people are dying, especially women. Many people are dying on the trips up. They're being mutilated, and it is a nasty... And when I first came, I said, I used the word rape. I remember I got great marks for the speech when I first announced I was running. I remember that in the lobby of Trump Tower. And 2 days later, I think the Times called, did you say rape? I got great marks. They said it was a great speech. And then they said, did he say rape? And I said, yeah, I said rape. That's what's happening. Tremendous levels. And after that, it was like, that's when it all began. And it was like, incredible what they said. Well, what I said is nothing compared to what the fact is. It is a horrible thing. Those caravans are mean. And you have people, 10 to 20, 25,000 people coming up in these massive caravans. And there's tremendous death and injury and problems that nobody would even believe. And we're causing this. But I did mention that word, and now everyone's saying, Trump was right. Trump was right. But you have to go through hell, and you have to say it. And, I respect you so much because you speak up. Like you said, no, we're all for that, right? Very few people would say what Tiffany said a couple of moments ago about something that was a little bit controversial, that shouldn't be controversial at all. But they just wouldn't do it. So when you said that, I said, that's refreshing to hear.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for taking the time to meet with so many of the victims' families of crime that we've seen. Lake and Riley's family, for example. I'm just going to ask, what is that experience like for you, meeting with the parents of children who are being killed by illegal immigrants?
It's terrible. They're being killed by illegal aliens. There's no correct term because any term you use, they criticize you. You shouldn't use the word alien. You shouldn't use the word migrant. They want to take all the words away so that you can't talk about the subject anymore.
That's exactly right.
But Laken was this beautiful young woman who was savagely beaten and killed by a migrant. But there are many of them. I can tell you the parents will never be the same. I was at the border 3 days ago with 3 people, 2 where their a child was killed, and one where she was badly injured, beautiful woman. She was badly hurt. They stole her car. She tried to stop them, and they ran her over, and this and that. She was, thought she was going to be dead, but she had a terrible fracture of the head. And, I had a case, it was very interesting. The 13 people that were killed in Afghanistan, you all know about that. That was grossly incompetent. Getting out was fine, because I was going to get out. I would have been out before them, but we had an election that happened. But we would have been out with dignity and strength. We would have taken the military out last, not first. They took the military out first. But they had 13 people killed, and I got to know many of the families of the 13. It was a terrible, tragic thing. None of them should have died. Those people were essentially killed by a stupid administration that didn't know what they're doing, and bad generals like Milley, who was a bad general. Bad general. And, nobody was fired. It was the most incompetent. I think it's the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, the way it happened. Remember the planes taking off and people falling off the planes. Many people fell to their death. They were hanging onto the wings. They probably thought they could take the plane and fly on the plane, and they didn't realize the plane's going 500 miles an hour. And they fell off at 3,000 feet. That's 3 times the height of the Empire State Building. They fell off. They started falling off, and then they all were off. And a lot of people, but it was a horrible, horrible moment. But you had 13 people killed, many people badly injured, meaning no legs. We had one, no arm, no legs, and the arm that was left was battered. Face was badly hurt. And these are people, this is just horrible casualties. But I got to know the people. I felt very badly, and they viewed me as their president, frankly. And I don't want to do anything about it. I don't want to say that, but they viewed me. And I everybody knew because it was covered, but not covered like the press should cover it. The press doesn't talk about bad things. They don't talk about what happened in Afghanistan anymore with the Taliban, with that horrible leaving. It wasn't the leaving. It was great to leave because, they were there for like 20 years and we were leaving, but we were going to keep Bagram, which is one of the biggest Air Force bases in the world. And we're keeping it not because of Afghanistan, but because of China, because it was 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. So we were keeping that. And it would have been fine, but it was time now to turn it over. Despite the threat to democracy, I did turn that over. I didn't say, they said, he'll never give it over. These people are crazy. They're crazy. But anyway, so I gave it over, and then they took over. And I didn't have anybody killed in Afghanistan for 18 months. I had a long talk with the head of the Taliban, who's really the boss. And his name is Abdul. And I said, Abdul, don't do it. Don't do it. You don't do it. And he said, but why, sir? Why do you send me a picture of my home? Abdul, you'll have to figure that one out. He went, but why do you send me a picture of my home, Your Excellency? He called me Your Excellency. And he was fine. Look, I said, you can't do it. You can't do it. You hit any. They had snipers that were killing our people. Our wonderful soldiers, snipers from a long distance. And we didn't lose one person in 18 months. And then we had this catastrophe happen, which should have never happened. We had them in good shape, but we had to get out. It's ridiculous that we were there. And we left $85 billion worth of equipment. They became brand new equipment too. Equipment that I bought. They left brand new goggles, tanks, planes. We left it there instead of taking it out. I remember when Milley told me, General Milley, he's one of the woke guys, he was saying, you know all about him, he's bad general. But he was saying, sure, I think we should leave the equipment behind. I said, why? Because I was talking about getting out. And I was going to get out. I brought it down to the number of men, but we had to keep Bagram. You got to keep the Air Force, the big base. Built many years ago for billions and billions of dollars. But he says, sir, we should leave the equipment behind. Why? Well, it's much less expensive. I said, wait a minute. We got a $150 million airplane, and we could fill it up with a little gas, a tank of airplane fuel and fly it to Pakistan or fly it all the way back home, you think it's cheaper to leave it? And it's a new plane, you think it's cheaper? You think it's cheaper to leave Army tanks where we can put them in a trailer and take, yes, sir, it's cheaper. I said, this guy is really bad. It's true. And that's when I lost total respect for the guy. I didn't have a lot because, you never got good news. I want people where there's good news, Like the general I used to knock out I knocked out 100% of ISIS. It was supposed to take 5 years. It took about 4 weeks, right? We have a great military. I'll tell you, I had a great general in charge of that, and he knocked the hell out of him. He said, sir, I can do it in about 4 weeks. They said, why didn't they do it before? Sir, they didn't want to really fight. They wanted to be politically correct, sir. But it was amazing. We have, I just say to this room, we have a great military. And our real military is not going to be woke. You couldn't convince them to be woke if you screamed at them all day for the next 10 years. But the guys on television are woke, and a lot of the top people are woke, but they'll all be gone pretty quick. They're going to all be gone. You get them out. You get them out.
When I was in Milwaukee, I got to meet some of the Gold Star families. And
sir.
Yeah,
we had a big problem. So I was called by these families. There were probably 4 of them. There was also somebody very badly injured with the legs and everything. And they asked me, would it be possible, 2 days ago, right, to go to Arlington National Cemetery to celebrate the life of their children who had been killed 3 years ago. And this was the whole thing, the whole disaster in Afghanistan, where they set off a bomb and probably 500 people were killed altogether. And we got to think of the other side also, but it was a terrible thing. But we lost 13 soldiers. We had 45 soldiers that were really badly hurt, too. Nobody ever talks. You ever notice somebody loses their leg or both legs or their arm, in one case, an arm and 2 legs, and nobody ever talks about them. They talk about, because we have to remember that those people are, boy, nobody ever talks about them. And we had some people that were horrifically injured. Anyway, they called and they said, sir, would you be able to come? Now, I got to know them because I have a place in Bedminster, New Jersey, which is a spectacular place. And they wanted to know whether they like New Jersey. New Jersey is good. New Jersey has some of the most beautiful things. So this is a beautiful place. And I had most of the families there about 1.5 years ago. And they all wanted to know whether or not I'd be showing up. I didn't know if I could. And when I heard they were there, I went out and I saw them. And they thought I was going to stay for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, shake everyone's hand and leave. I ended up staying with them like for 4.5 hours. We listened to music up with the members. We have this beautiful deck overlooking everything. And you're looking at the sky, great food, a very luxurious place. I mean, it's beautiful. And we had, I don't know, like 20, 25 people, members of the family of these 13 people, of most of the 13. And we ended up listening to music, Elvis and Elton John and everybody. And certain songs were very sad, and I'd point to the sky. I said, your son is looking down at you, and he's very proud. Oh, the people, it was like crazy. I was with him like for 4.5 hours. My 15 minutes, do you think we could get him to stay for 15 minutes? Could he sign something, a picture of my son? So I ended up staying there, and I got to know him. And I got a call a little while ago, like a week, 2 weeks, and they asked whether or not it would be possible to go to Arlington National Cemetery 2 days ago. And also, could I stay for the changing of the guard and the whole thing, which was beautiful. I did that. But it was very tough for me to get there because I was doing something else. I had to get out of something that was not easy to get out of. And I did that, and I did the changing. And then they said, could you come with us to the graves of, which is quite a bit away. You had to go into cars and go into, through the cemetery, beautiful Arlington Cemetery. And I did that, And I was getting absolutely killed because they're calling me. They're saying, sir, we got a lot of people waiting. I said, don't worry about it. Let them wait. And I did it. And they're looking at the graves and they're explaining. One of the mothers was saying, and I've had this a lot actually, sir, could I tell you about my son? Yes. He said, sir, he was a good football player. He was a quarterback. He had a very strong arm. And you know, he was playing another team, and it was a long story, and I just listened to it because I saw it was like therapy. She was so proud of him.
Oh, they loved you so much, President Trump. They had such wonderful things to say about you when we spoke. So they really appreciated that.
It was so good. But just so they said, sir, could you take some pictures with us at the graves of our child? And you know, the child, because the child maybe 22 or 24, but that's their child, right? They're not saying at the grave of the man. You know, there's nothing political or anything. This was their child. This was their baby. Could you take a picture with? And these people are devastated. These people can never ever be the same. And it was all because of Biden. Okay, I'll get in trouble. I don't care. Get me in trouble. This should have never, ever happened. Nobody should have been killed. They should have left from Bagram, which is this massive base. They shouldn't have left from this little local airport where the whole city ends up piling in and everyone went crazy. And by the way, they shouldn't have taken the military out first. They should have taken the military out last when everything was gone. They took the military out, and I could just imagine Abdul, who's smart as hell. Somebody went to Abdul and they said, Abdul, the American soldiers have left. He said, you're a stupid man to say that. Of course that didn't happen. No, Abdul, they've left. I could just see it, the conversation. Then he found out they left. He said, I can't believe it. And once they left, they had a field day. What they did to us was incredible. But they kept everything. But thanks. So the people were coming up to me and said, sir, could I have a picture of you at the grave of my son? I said, absolutely. I would love to do that. So the whole family gathered around. We had the beautiful, stone, the marble with the name of the soldier on. Shouldn't have been on it because they shouldn't have been dead. And we took pictures at the different grave sites. And that was it. It was beautiful. And they were all crying. Everybody was crying. It was very sad. Terrible. It's even worse when there was no reason for it to happen. It makes it even worse. It's one thing, it's a war. But here's the thing, it shouldn't have happened. Just incompetent. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country, but it shouldn't have happened. And these kids shouldn't have been dead. And the 45 people that were so badly hurt, and frankly, the 300 people, mostly civilians from the other side, they shouldn't have been dead. Just a grossly incompetent group of people. So,
thank you for respecting our dead, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Just to finish, though, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So, but just to finish, so I took pictures. I said to people, should I tell this story? I told this story once today. I said, should I tell it? Because I think it's a terrible thing. So I stood with the mothers, the fathers, sometimes both, sometimes a sister. There was a sister, beautiful sister, who also had some difficulty because of a war injury. But I stood with different people over different graves and took pictures. I didn't want to take pictures, but I wanted to take them if they wanted to take them. And the former president of the United States is with them. They're very happy about that, as happy as they can be, because they'll never be happy. And I took pictures, and that was it. And I left, and we said goodbye, and it was beautiful, actually. And then I get a call that night, sir, we're getting a complaint from the White House that you used the soldiers for publicity pictures and for public relations. And I said, I can't believe it. And I said, I can't believe it. So here's a guy that he killed those people, okay? These people were killed by Biden as far as I'm concerned. And then I get a call, and I'm taking pictures. These are pictures with parents, etc., sisters, brothers, people that are laying in the ground right there, shouldn't be dead. And I get a call, and I actually got a lot of bad publicity. They said, President Trump spent time at Arlington National Cemetery taking pictures and things. It's just so disgusting. And I'll tell you, if you haven't noticed, I get a lot of publicity. I don't need that publicity. I don't need that publicity. It doesn't. I get a lot. I get too much. I'd like to have half the publicity. I want to hire a PR person to get me half the publicity. All right. But
that's not normally what you hire PR people for. But I'm sure you could find someone.
I just thought it was such a terrible thing.
So I just want to tell you, I think it meant an incredible amount to them. I know it did. They've spoken about it. And thank you for loving the American people. Thank you for working to make America great again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we thank you for your time today, spending time with us. I want to tell you, Moms for Liberty is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
And we only endorse in school board races. But I want to tell you personally, sir, that I endorse you for President of the United States.
Thank you, Tiffany. That's very nice. Wow. I didn't even expect that. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you. Good job. Barbara Walters.
Kill that music. Kill that music. All right. Donald Trump spoke for, it looks like, by the timing, a little over 2 hours. He's up there dancing right now. It's pretty funny, but I can't play the music. A little over 2 hours. It was genuine, was authentic, told stories from all the way back to The Apprentice, back to the ice skating rink in New York City. Basically just 2 hours of him just talking. I understand, I could see there were a bunch of trolls, maybe not a bunch, but a few trolls in here. And so, in my normal fashion, let me just say this to you trolls. Let me know when Kamala Harris sits for, never mind 2 hours. Let me know when Kamala Harris sits for an hour, for 30 minutes, unscripted, live, taking questions from somebody. I don't even care if it's a warm questioner. She could have done 30 minutes with Dana Bash completely live and let Dana Bash talk to her. So when you're trolling, understanding the person you're supporting is a friggin' idiot. She could never do what Donald Trump just did. You're amongst other Trump supporters here. You're amongst other independents here. You're making yourself look stupid when you're talking about Donald Trump did this or Donald Trump did that because the person you support can't make a complete sentence. That's all I got to say about that. Number two, I am so happy. I don't know what happened in between the two talks, but he brought up a lot of stuff about what's going on in Aurora, Colorado. Again, I'll direct this to your trolls. Colorado is a deep blue state. Why is it that your people, the people that you vote in, are allowing armed Venezuelan gangs to terrorize their constituents? Why are the people in Aurora, Colorado being allowed to do this, to terrorize, to harass people living in their homes? You don't have an answer for it. And you know how I know you don't have an answer for it? Because Kamala Harris didn't even mention it. She's not even talked about what's happened in Aurora, Colorado. She also hasn't talked about the attempted kidnapping or whatever they were going to do to the kids on the school bus. And she never talks about the 300,000 plus kids that are missing, just gone. So when you decide to troll in here, understand that there is so much that we have questions for. If you think you know the answer to them, go ahead, let us know. Let us know why the candidate that you support can't even speak to these things. Actually, she can't speak to anything. So I understand why it's necessary for trolls to come in here, because we're the ones who actually talk and look at things and have evidence and go through them. Your candidate is looking at unicorns and butterflies and, horse milkshakes. So that being said, he talked for over 2 hours. I'm looking at the clock here. Did a fantastic job. Thank God the internet stayed strong. So I got one more day before I get home and back into my studio. Thank you all. It's 10 o'clock at night. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Thank you guys for staying the entire 2 hours and listen to what this man had to say. I wanted to back off. I didn't jump in too much in terms of being on camera while he was talking because this was a different kind of talk. This was him sitting in a relaxed situation, and I just wanted to let him talk. I didn't want to interject too much. This was a different, we've seen rallies, we've seen speeches, and I haven't seen him do too many of these fireside chat type things, and it was completely awesome. Completely awesome. I think share it with your friends. And do me a favor, like I said earlier, we're talking about these 300,000 plus kids that have disappeared. Do yourself a favor and go watch the movie Song of Freedom, Sound of Freedom. I believe it's Sound of Freedom. Go ahead and watch that. And then after you watch that, go ahead and watch the Matrix. And you have to decide yourself how you're going to treat people, friends, family, coworkers. You're going to take that red pill and find out how deep the rabbit hole goes, or you're going to take that blue pill and be a troll and wake up and basically just go on with your life. I hope many of you, especially as we're getting closer now, understand what we're fighting for. Understand why you need to take that red pill. Swallow it hard. It's not comfortable. It doesn't feel good. It's going to make you cry. It's going to make you angry. All of that. But if you can see what's happening right now in America, never mind the world, in America, if you can say to yourself, I'm okay with armed Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment buildings, then you got nothing to worry about. But I'm pretty sure since you're here, you know that armed Venezuelan gangs taking over Americans' homes where people live, as Michael Corleone said, where their children play, something's wrong. And it's even made further wrong by the fact that the Democrat candidate for the presidency of the United States isn't even talking about it. It's like it's no big deal. It's evil, man. It's seriously evil. In any event, thank you guys for hanging out for 2 hours. Do that. Go watch The Matrix if you haven't seen it. Go watch Sound of Freedom. Make sure you got somebody with you when you watch Sound of Freedom if you haven't seen it. It's going to make you cry. It's going to make you angry, but it's going to inform you as well. It's not a fairy tale. It's what's really going on. 300,000 kids that the Democrats don't care about. That's enough in and of itself to vote Donald Trump in. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in for 2 hours, late night, 10 o'clock. Have a good one.